Today, folks, I'm going to update you on my over $360,000 stock portfolio, which just hit a major milestone. For the first time in my passive income investing career, I hit over $10,000 in annual dividends. And yes, I reinvested some of the cash that I have sitting on the sidelines. I'm going to show you where I'm putting that capital. But before we dive into the portfolio, we got to talk about the global economic circumstance here, what I think is going to happen in the near term, which led me to invest some cash into the market. We're going to discuss that, but I couldn't make a video yesterday. I couldn't invest capital in the market because the last of my concerns yesterday was exactly like going nuts and trying to trade this market. I mean, you have to feel so blessed living in the Western world, watching that news minute by minute change for the Ukraine people and the Russian people who are just getting their accounts slaughtered. I mean, the Russian index, guys, has hit the worst bear market it's seen in literally decades. We're going to be discussing all of this and so much more. If this is a conversation you appreciate, as always, just consider hitting that like button, folks, because just take a look at the Moscow exchange. I don't think the Russian people are too very happy with Putin right here, considering their major bank, the Sber Bank, is down 56% year to date. It is literally looking like the 2008 financial crisis and by far one of the worst drops in Russian history. And I'm going to talk about how this is prevalent to the global markets and why this led me to investing some capital. But before I do, take a look at the Chinese market. It's down 4.98%. So it's actually holding fairly flat here, as we mentioned. And I've updated you guys yesterday on this, but take a look at the Frankfurt exchange here, guys. So this is Germany, which is getting hit by this because Germany has a huge exposure to the oil side of Russia. So this got hit pretty hard. The European markets actually rebounded after hitting some major lows as well. Actually, it's probably the best performing market, which came as a bit of a surprise to me, being so closely connected to Russia when we're talking about the energy side of things. The TSX here, guys, rebounding beautifully based off some earnings that came out, which we'll discuss. So the TSX has been a good place to hide right now this year, and the S&P 500 today is trading up almost 1.5%, and it looks like we could be rebounding off the lows. Whether we're still in this downtrend trajectory, time will tell, but I think this is going to be a rebound. And the reason I think this is going to be a rebound is because we just watched hundreds of billions of dollars flood out of Russia. And that hundred of billions of dollars has to go somewhere. And considering there's more conflict coming out of China, considering the German market's going to go through a period of volatility based off oil prices and the connections to Russia, all of this money is looking for a place of security. And I really feel like they're coming over to the Western world. And as much as I want to fear hyperinflation, I think a lot of the interest rate stuff could still come into a down cycle play. I'm curious to see what this global money is going to do and where it's going to go, because you want to follow the money. And my guess is it's going to flood over here in the coming weeks and the coming months as this kind of conflict continues to expand. So leading into my portfolio, guys, as I have done here every single week, I have done quite a little bit of adjusting. I told you guys I was about 10% cash at the peak, and that was primarily because I was shifting around some index funds. I've been doing a lot of shifting, still trying to get a little bit more Canadian exposure. And at this point, I'm very happy to say that I have over 40% of my entire capital exposed to the Canadian markets, another 60% exposed to the US markets, maybe not exact 60 because I don't include the 5% cash, which is primarily sitting in Canadian dollars with a bit of US capital. But just take a look, because I kind of scaled down VOO. This was purely based off the idea of my exposure to the top 10 weighted companies that sit in the VOO, which are all those tech companies. And because I have such a large exposure to obviously Facebook, Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, I wanted to get more of the dividend side so I could kind of get to that goal of 10,000 a year. So I put most of that into VYM, making VYM pretty much my largest position right now, next to Ryokan. Now, like I said, we just had some Canadian earnings. The Canadian market is absolutely blowing up. Northland Power, a decent position of mine, making up 3.34%. This natural energy utility posted amazing earnings for the first time in what feels like 3 or 4 quarters here, driving that stock up. We saw the Canadian banks. Canadian Imperial Bank is doing a stock split, and it just posted insane revenue numbers. Consider subscribing because I'm going to break that down in my next video. So my banks are coming back with a vengeance here, guys, and the Canadian REIT sector is still just performing exceptionally well against my US REITs like Stag Industrial, Medical Properties Trust. So I have nice exposure now to Ryokan. I wanted to sell a lot more of it down, but I just can't bring myself to do it, guys. I'm like, I love the Canadian real estate sector. I don't own any real estate, so it's not the end of the world if it makes up 6.38% of my portfolio. So with the other exposure to the Canadian real estate sector being smart centers at 3.98%, just gives me a rounded number of over 10% to the Canadian real estate market. Other than that, I have been scaling down my tech stocks a little bit more, but that was over the last week here, guys. So I did sell down a little bit more Apple, a little bit more Microsoft, a little bit more Tesla, but nothing to any majoring degree. I just wanted to reposition. So I did buy some more Royal Bank back to kind of round off my Canadian bank sector. So basically I have $15,000 spread across 4 different banks, 15,000 each. So that makes up about 17% of the entire portfolio in the Canadian financial sector. Utilities as a whole is the smallest sector at about 10%. And then the smallest sector, I should say, is my telecom with TELUS, which I did finalize up that position and I put my last little bit of capital in there. But this is great because now I'm sitting on about 5% cash, or just over 5%. And that cash is probably just going to be sitting there for a while. I'm continuing to stack cash and obviously collect dividends. And as I said, I just still want to see how the markets play out over the next 3 to 6 months. I'm just curious here, guys, with the cash, that if I can take advantage of some downturns, because I'm going to keep building the cash position from here. Don't get me wrong. I'm still a little bit cautious into this market, but as I told you guys, I will always be fully exposed because I believe this diversification is what's leading me to outperform right now. And when I say outperform, when I ran the math, I was kind of blown away, to be honest. I thought I was down a hell of a lot more than I was. And honestly, at the bottoms of the market, I probably was. But as a portfolio as a whole, I am only down 5% from my all-time highs of about 378,000 here. And actually, that's not including the cash that I recently added to the portfolio. So I'm kind of impressed by this, and a lot of it comes from the global diversification with the Canadian market. But bringing this whole thing together here, guys, the dividends now sit at about 10,213 annually. And that includes some of the Shakepay stats, because many of you know with my Bitcoin position, I get free Bitcoin using this app. And if you come in through an affiliate, which I'm going to leave the link in the description below, you don't even have to put any money in it. Just come in through the affiliate, sign up. If you're a Canadian, not for US viewers, you're going to collect free Bitcoin forever. That's going to make, well, not forever, but it compounds every single day you log into the app and shake it, something called Shake Stats. So it's going to make me over $100 in Bitcoin, so I can cash flow that a little bit. I'm going to cash flow half of my cash. So I'm going to put 10,000 into an emergency fund, make about 1% in that GIC, which I've discussed. So bringing all of that together, guys, $10,213 in annual dividends. If we take a look at the little pie chart off to the side here, this really shows how all of that income breaks down. And as I told you guys, I was way too exposed to Ryokan, a little bit fearful earlier on that it made up too much of my dividend income. I don't want any one position paying me a 10% total of all the dividend income. And now we've really set this up to perpetuate for the rest of my life. And what is great about this, guys, 10,000 in annual dividends. I mean, think about 30 years until I am 60 of reinvesting that. Every 10 years, if I don't even reinvest it, is going to be $100,000 reinvested and compounded. This is going to set me up for the rest of my life and will take me to $1 million and beyond if I never touch it, because I'm only 29 years old. This is my ride or die portfolio here, guys, and I'm very happy with how I've rounded it out, especially through these volatile times. And I think my diligence, hard work, and just making sure that I'm doing the homework is really paying off, not only to the upside, but to the downside as well. And at this point, guys, if you want to learn more, if you want to chat with me directly, if you want spreadsheets like this, come on over to thechartmaster.com. If you want to support the channel, you can buy one of these charts, get the rest of them for free, or for $29.99, you get all of the charts, plus you get to talk to me. You're going to go into a WhatsApp group where I'm going to share you memes, news, and further portfolio updates. But on this point, I pass the question off to you folks. How did you survive yesterday? It was absolutely nuts. I saw everyone and their grandmother making YouTube videos offering opinions, and my head was so scattered. I didn't really want to do anything with the portfolio because I don't like making decisions when it's hard to fully understand or grasp what's going on. So I had to take a breath, had to relax, and I hope you guys are doing okay, especially if you have family over there, because nobody wins on either side of the border. I'm not for Russia, the Ukraine, I'm not for any of this crap. It only hurts the citizens, which is just absolutely horrendous. And there's not much else to say about it other than feel blessed if you do live in America, Canada, any of these Western nations, because we have great markets. It's just a blessing, guys. It's all it is. But stay cool, stay awesome, and as always, I look forward to catching you in the next one.